Welcome back to IGN Live at E3 2019. Risk of Rain 2 released into early access in March and has received praise from both fans and critics alike. Some nerd on IGN even gave it a 9 out of 10. Here to discuss the road to release are Paul Morse and Duncan Drummond of Hopu Games, as well as IGN's very own Miranda Sanchez. So, Paul, for folks at a top level who've not played yet, can you just tell us what Risk of Rain 2 is?
Sure. So Risk of Rain 2 is the sequel to Risk of Rain 1, obviously. At the very base level of it, you're a survivor of a crashed ship. You're landing on a planet. The thing about the planet is every minute that you're on the planet, it's getting more and more difficult to survive. So you have to balance your time between fighting monsters, collecting power-ups, collecting equipment, supplies to survive. And then your purpose of the game is to kind of escape the planet, find the teleporter, charge it up, and find your way back home.
Yeah. I think there's like such a great feeling of that challenge as it progresses, and like the strategy of how fast do I move through these early planets, or like, but also how much gear do I want to wait and stay for? Like, there's all this money on the line, and so like there's this great strategy as you're moving through everything. I play Huntress. She's my favorite.
Okay. Yep.
I love her. I am unwilling to change. I know there's other great characters, but I'm like, no, dibs on Huntress every time. Someone else plays something different.
Speaking of new characters, I mean,
yeah, but like,
what are we seeing on screen? This is a new survivor.
Yeah, so we're kind of showing off our newest character. His name is Rex, and he's new to the Risk of Rain universe, so he's not a recurring character from the old game. He's kind of a plant-robot hybrid, and we really want to make sure that all of our characters weren't the same. They all have different silhouettes. And compared to Risk of Rain 1, we actually have a lot more humanoids.
mm-hmm.
So we want to make sure that our next character, it wasn't just another person. It was something more unique.
he's so big.
He is. He's very
So
big.
cool.
He used to be way bigger.
He used to be way bigger.
than he was. Yeah, we had to, when we first designed him, he was like massive compared to everyone else. It's a good shot here because you can see kind of a lot of the characters from the first game. They're just like, you know, person with a gun or a bow, like the Huntress. So he's completely different than what we've done. And it took us a while to kind of design him and get him feeling right, but I think we kind of did
We're
a
really
good job
happy
for
with
it.
the result.
Yeah.
So can you guys tell us anything about how we unlock him? Like, what sort of challenges are involved?
yes,
'Cause that's one of the things I really enjoyed.
I don't want to spoil it, but
Yeah.
it's kind of a specific little quest that you have to achieve. So you can explicitly go and try to achieve it. So it's not like you have to just play the game a ton.
Okay.
Yeah. There's a
Which you should do anyway, but you
Yeah.
know.
yeah, exactly. It's kind of easy to do. There's something that we did with him that is kind of unique. Some of the older characters we've unlocked through, you know, playing for a while or like showing, you know, you can beat the third stage or stuff like that. With him, we wanted to do it, since he is a new character, in a completely new way. So we kind of modified some of the older stuff to,
It's a little quest, I suppose.
Yeah.
So it's really fun.
Okay.
We're also seeing a new environment here, but before we get to that, can you just talk us through Rex's kit?
Sure thing.
Yeah, no, I'll go for it. Most of the characters in Risk of Rain have 4 skills. Rex isn't different in that matter. Half of his kit is kind of plant-based, and then the other half is like robotic-based. So his mouse 1 is like firing out 3 different darts, and if you hit the third one, it will heal you. So something interesting about Rex is his 2 plant-based abilities actually cost health to use. So his M1 healing him is actually very useful. His M2, which I think is like one of his definite signature abilities, is a mortar, and you'll see it sometimes when that white circle appears.
Oh.
So yeah, he's aiming it, and then a mortar comes down like half a second later, but it costs health to use, so you kind of have to balance how much damage you want to do versus how many times you want to use it. So, and then his shift, which is his like utility skill, is kind of like a force cannon, I would say. You can
Sort of shoves everything away.
yeah, you can get things away from you. And in this update, we actually added for flying monsters. If they get shoved hard enough, like into walls and things like that, they'll die and like trigger their kill effects and stuff like that. So that's really useful for him to keep things kind of at an optimal distance. And then his R is he shoots out like a seed, and then once it grows, it pulls everything in, roots them, and then every monster that you have pulled in will start to heal you. So you kind of use that to combo the healing with like spamming your right click, which costs health, so you kind of see your health bar moving a lot more on Rex than other characters.
Okay, maybe you've made a character that's going to give me off Huntress, because I love any sort of element of lifesteal, because I think managing like your health to do damage, but also how to get it back and like be strategic about that's really fun.
That's exactly, I think, what the character's about. He's unique in that he has built-in healing, and no other character does. And the cool thing about all of his abilities that kind of self-damage is that it'll activate items that activate on getting hurt. So things like the stealth kit or the med kit, which aren't super popular, are a little bit better on this character because he has a way to trigger it more commonly, I suppose.
Like most of the characters will scale with things like damage, like attack speed, critical chance, and he's pretty different with that just because what Duncan was saying, but all the things that are actually healing lead to you being able to dish out more damage. So that's his R move right there, where it's like pulling things in and healing you.
Super useful. It's almost like a built-in black hole that
Yes,
that
kind
can
of.
modify.
Yeah, exactly.
And I imagine the antlers are probably very good on this character. But let's talk about some existing characters. One character that felt a little bit nerfed to me relative to the rest, maybe I just wasn't playing correctly because I, too, like Miranda, love the Huntress, was the Artificer.
Yep.
So what have you done since launch to kind of respond to player feedback in terms of hero and item balance?
Yep. So we did actually give the Artificer a new passive in this patch. If you hold space, you sort of hover in place, and there's no cooldown. It's kind of unlimited. So it lets you get like a much higher kind of angle to shoot stuff down. And you can avoid fall damage by just holding space, and you sort of kind of slowly hover down. So that was a pretty big one. The other one is a little bit kind of more in detail, is that we changed a lot of the internal math for like on-hit effects to be stronger for big single target attacks and less strong for kind of constantly attacking ones. So we've seen like pretty significant changes in like how well she plays because of that.
Yep. She's got a lot of moves that are kind of slow when you charge them up, like her right click and things like that have been buffed pretty hard in this. And I think although the passive that we added for the floating is kind of not the most exciting thing, but on her kit, it really helps her like get that advantage of being high up and like kind of raining down from things. So it helps a lot.
Awesome. So do we want to talk about this new environment?
I mean, yeah,
Because
absolutely.
I'm just like staring at the screen trying to like soak it all in. So
Yeah, so this one was pretty fun because we wanted to try, again, same with just Risk of Rain 2 in general, we want to try new stuff. The idea for this one was that it's a bit more of a structured environment. It's not kind of natural terrain, it's like an installation. So that took quite a while for us to figure out just because we were new to it. I think it turned out really well, and we were pretty happy about it.
yeah, it looks really cool. Are there any other special features to this place or like places we should check out?
There's new characters or new monsters to fight on the stage. There's a new unique boss that only spawns in this stage that we'll maybe see in the video, along with like a new kind of higher tier monster similar to the beetle guards and the golems.
Okay.
So it's kind of unique to this map.
One other big point of player feedback, at least for me, was connecting to a host who then leaves somewhat unceremoniously. Are you guys working on anything like reconnect functionality or host migration, or is the best workaround for players right now just to find friends and queue up together?
So you currently can reconnect if you know the person's like Steam. So if you disconnect from a friend, you could reconnect. Host migration is something we really want to be able to do. It's just, it depends on the scope of the project. Ultimately, it's just me, Paul, and our buddy back home, Jeff. And host migration's pretty high up there in terms of difficulty.
Sure.
I would like to think that we could achieve it one day, but it's not on the list of things we want to focus on right now.
Paul, can you talk to me about what Skills 2.0? So you have this essentially like early access forecast by end of summer, Skills 2.0. That caught my eye. There's a lot of really cool stuff on there, but what is that?
Yeah, so that's something that we've been kind of tinkering with lately. It'll definitely be in our next, as you said, content update.
Secret.
Yeah, it's kind
Yeah,
of
no, yet.
trying to word this in a way that's not like giving too much away yet, but it is
It'll be
something that we've wanted from the beginning of Risk of Rain 2. Was kind of a little bit
It's
away.
a feature.
Yeah.
Is about as much as I can say, I
Yeah,
guess.
it's tough to like explain it without really giving it away, but
Also
it's
because we haven't like done a ton of work on it. We've
Yeah.
been focusing on this build for so long. We haven't like progressed over to the next one yet. So we don't want to say something and then it turns out we can't do it or something. But what we have planned is a pretty big, exciting feature for our next content update.
yeah. I think it'll help you look at older characters in a way that kind of revamps them and makes you want to try
That's
them
the
again.
Okay, so back to Huntress.
Yeah,
is
so
what
for
you're saying.
Huntress is exactly what I'm saying. So there's you could want to go back to her again.
I've played her so much, maybe you're tired of her, but yeah, maybe you'll go back.
Yeah.
All right. Well, cool. What else can you guys tell us about this update? What are you guys excited about for it?
I think kind of one of the things that Duncan touched on earlier was the fact of that there's a new higher tier affix, and that's kind of a multiplier on the base monsters to kind of scale their difficulty and what they're doing. And we've had a couple kind of like the fire elites or the lightning ones that we've talked about in the past, but this is a kind of step above that once you've kind of gotten into that looping phase or you've played for like, half an hour plus in one run, and this is
It's a new tier of elites, I suppose.
Ooh.
It's kind of an elite version of an elite. And,
Yeah.
it's mostly for players that play for a very long time to have a challenge going later into the game.
Awesome.
It's interesting for us too because we've never really had too much of that. The original game had blighted affixes, and it's almost kind of our new take on that. And we don't want to spoil what the abilities do, but one of the things it does do is if you get hit, it disables your healing for a few seconds.
Yeah, so there's a lot of things late game that you can kind of get, with this game you get stronger and stronger as you play more. And one of the things that kind of keeps you from dying is, being able to heal yourself through your abilities, and especially Rex with his kind of self-heals. This is one of the things that is pretty scary for a player who's kind of reached that,
Immortal status.
Yeah. It's
That's what I called too. I called it godhood.
Yeah.
Review. All right. Unfortunately, we only have time for one more question, so I just want to ask, talk to the players who haven't played the game yet. What is it about this experience that you think is unique enough to jump in and check out?
Sure. I think with the original Risk of Rain, obviously we want to kind of keep that core loop the same. Fighting monsters, collecting loot, kind of turning from just your basic character when you land on the planet to kind of evolving into this immortal being with missiles coming out and things like that. So I think there's a really, really strong sense of scaling as you play more, and I think that's just something that a lot of games don't nail. And I think the fact that we have infinitely scaling items and things like that just kind of lends to this kind of power creep as you play and play. So it's just kind of addicting in that way.
Fantastic. Paul, Duncan, Miranda, thank you very much. That's Risk of Rain 2. Check it out on Steam. It's fantastic, but there's still lots more E3 to come. Hey, you on the side stage. Tall man, tell me what's next.
Well, Dougalodian, some people